Hey everyone! Before we begin, I want to give a shout out to the Spirit Science forums. The forums now have over 3,000 individuals who are consciously participating in the discussions about the universe. If you want to ask questions, share information and videos, and meet your spirit family, the Spirit Science forums are a great place to start. Everyone is very caring and loving, nobody is left out, and it's a beautiful place to just hang out. And now, without further ado, let's talk about 2012. There can be no peace until we find peace within. Wow, 2012. Here we are at long last. Many cultures have been awaiting the time we're in right now for thousands of years. And one of the biggest, most prominent cultures that have brought 2012 to the forefront of our awareness are the Mayans, through their long count calendar. Now, the Mayan calendar is actually the most detailed, specific, and accurate calendar on the planet, but to go into depth on it right now would take a very long time. We will dive into specifics of the calendar later on, but for now let's take a look at the general prophecies that were foretold thousands of years ago, all about the time that we're in right now. According to the Mayans, the solstice on December 21st, 2012, precisely at 11:11 a.m. Universal Time, marks the completion of the 5,125-year Great Cycle of the Mayan long count calendar. 2012 also marks the completion of the 26,000-year precession of the equinoxes cycle, which we discussed in Lesson 5. According to the calendars, it also signifies the end of a 144,000-year cycle, a 78,000-year cycle, and a 26 million-year cycle. The 2012 date marks the completion of this world age cycle, but it does not signify the end. Well, it kind of does. It's the end of what we know, and into a transition of something new. It is a transitional state, but it definitely does not mean this. Although, because anything is possible, I won't say this isn't a possibility. Ultimately, we can't know what's going to happen, but we do have control over the potential of what we experience. We'll come back to that. We need to understand that the 2012 prophecies are signaling to us to wake up and realize that these times on Earth are very important. We are living in a landmark time in the history of this planet. We are collectively, as a species, approaching a crossroads that is calling out to us to participate in our fullest capacity. Let me show you a diagram to try and demonstrate just how important this is. First, this is how DNA works. See how you can basically map it out like a story? Here's the beginning, which could be seen as creation, or a start of a cycle. And then it moves outwards, expanding and moving into all potentials, until it reaches its peak in the middle. It stretches far out and then begins moving back towards the center, back to its source. But it will be a new space that it now exists in. Then it returns back to a center point, where it ends, or transitions, into a state where it expands out once more, continuing its infinite cycle of expansion and contraction. One could also say that it moves through the chakras, moving from a low frequency to an incredibly high frequency, where it will unite and transition out once more. Now think of the human species like this, and 2012 being that point of unity where everything comes together, right before starting off again and expanding out into something new and different. This is basically what's happening right now on Earth, but there's a catch. We have absolutely no idea how we're going to expand out, because there are so many potentials with what's happening on the planet right now. Let's go over a few of the basic ones. The first potential is that we all wake up and raise the vibrations of the entire species to a level of love, cooperation, and peace among all human beings. If this happens and 2012 comes to a close, then we may experience what many religions, prophecies, and ancient civilizations described as ascension. Everything is frequency, and supposedly the planet and everyone on it could experience a dimensional shift, where we move into a higher frequency where even more is possible than on this dimensional plane. We could then start building garden cities and utopias that work harmonically and in tune with nature and each other. Everyone could live in paradise, living from their heart in beauty and splendor. Although it may take a while to get there, by making the appropriate changes right now and setting those intentions, it becomes possible to create those realities sooner than later. A second potential could involve less of us waking up, and much of the world becoming even more intense than the book 1984. Now, there's already way too many beings of light all around the world who are now awake and moving forward on the path of healing themselves and the world around them. And if you're watching this, odds are you are too. So it's silly to think that the Earth could end up like Mars from self-destruction. Though we must be aware that there is still a control system in place, and we have to work with these frequencies in order to heal